हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक। आज हम कुछ नया करेंगे। नया क्या? आज हम केमिस्ट्री पढ़ेंगे, फिजिक्स के बदले केमिस्ट्री। लेट्स स्टार्ट विद केमिस्ट्री आल्सो। ओके, सो टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस द थर्ड चैप्टर ऑफ केमिस्ट्री व्हिच इज एटम्स एंड मॉलिक्यूल्स। ओके, so atoms and molecule, before this chapter you studied two more chapters in which we studied that any substance is made up of matter. कोई भी चीज मैटर से बनी हुई है and matter of different states, solid, liquid, gas. There are three states of matter, वो भी आपने पढ़ा. So now the question comes, सवाल ये उठता है अब कि मैटर है किस चीज का बना हुआ, मैटर किस चीज से बना हुआ है. So the scientist जो भी थे जिस समय हम पुराने टाइम में, ancient time, the scientists over that time they started thinking what is matter made up of, what is there in the matter. Like if you have a wall, कोई दीवार है, ईंटें जोड़ जोड़ के हमने बना दिया. In bio also you studied cell is the fundamental unit of life. By combining cells we get tissues, from tissues we get organs, from organ we get an organ system, and then we get an organism. Same way here also in chemistry, people started thinking we have matter, but what is matter made up of? And they started thinking and thinking and thinking. So Indian philosophers also, there is a good contribution by the Indian scientists of the ancient time. They were Marishis and those were the learned people at that time. तो बड़े बड़े उस समय हमारे ऋषि मुनि थे, वो लोग पढ़े लिखे लोग होते थे जो शिक्षा देते थे. So they gave the idea, one of our great scientists, great philosopher I can say, Kannad, Maharishi Kannad. He gave the idea that if you take a matter, break it into pieces and go on dividing until and unless you will come to a smallest part which cannot be further divided, and that is the smallest part of an atom. He came to this conclusion. He gave this suggestion also that it is this, that any matter can be broken down into small pieces. You go on dividing, broken, or you can say dividing, go on dividing until and unless you come to a smallest point. Okay, so we are going to discuss more about this, और इसके बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे. एटम क्या होता है, मॉलिक्यूल क्या होता है, कहाँ से हमने इसको जाना, लेट्स डिस्कस. ओके, सो हियर वी गो विद चैप्टर नंबर 3 of grade 9 chemistry, that is atoms and molecule. Okay, so in the very beginning we have a picture over here of a sugar cube. There is a sugar cube and the crystals of sugar also. ये वही example है, हमारे पास एक sugar cube है, हमने उसको break किया small pieces में, we got crystals of sugar. If you further divide the crystal of sugars into small particles और powder form में होगा, और उसको divide करते जाए microscopic level तक अगर हम जाएंगे, let's go to the microscopic level, and then we are going to get a point where you can't further divide it, and that is the smallest part of a matter. उसको नाम क्या देंगे? So people at that time who gave this suggestion gave the name also. Let's talk about them also. So let's first talk about history of atom. कहाँ से सोचा हमने, क्या सोचा इसके बारे में? So पहले क्या सोचा गया था? In the previous chapters we have discussed about matter, states of matter, solid, liquid, gas, सबके बारे में पढ़ा हमने. We studied about compounds, we studied about mixtures, and people in the ancient time, whether it is Indian philosophers or there were more different parts of the world like the Greek philosophers, they started thinking about what is matter made up of. Matter क्या है, किस चीज का बना हुआ matter. People started thinking about it. So they went after it. पीछे पड़ जाते किसी चीज के, तो पीछे पड़ गए तो they came to some conclusion. What was the conclusion they got? The conclusion was, if you talk about our Indian scientist Maharishi Kannad, around 500 BC. सोच लो कितना पहले. That time also science was developing. So he gave the idea that matter is made up, is divisible. Matter को हम छोटे छोटे पार्ट्स में और छोटे पार्ट्स में हम उसको डिवाइड कर सकते हैं. सबसे पहला आइडिया ये था. So if we go on breaking matter, go on dividing into small pieces, we will ultimately come across the smallest particle beyond which we can't divide it further. And he gave the name Pramanu. Okay, पढ़ा होगा आपने, सुना होगा कई बार परमाणु. So he gave the word Pramanu to that smallest particle. Our Indian scientist, okay, or you can say the philosopher, he gave this idea. At the same time, around the world people were behind it. So at the same time in different part of the world also. You can see two more people over here, Democritus and Leucippus. Okay, they also gave in Greek, they were the Greek philosophers, they also gave the same idea that if we go on dividing a matter, we are going to come across the smallest indivisible part, and they gave the name atom. Here the name was given atom, and we called it, Indians called it Pramanu. So Pramanu is same as atom. Atom को ही हिंदी में हम परमाणु कहते हैं. So here the name was given Pramanu. Ideas was same. दोनों के ideas same थे. That if you divide any substance, any matter, go on dividing, you will get a smallest particle. Okay. One more Indian philosopher at the same time, he also gave an idea. Okay. He's here, that Pakuda Katyayama. Okay. What did he say? He said that atoms are the smallest part, and the atoms combine and become stable also. It's not that the smallest part atoms remain alone. They can also combine and form a molecule. So he gave the idea that in some cases these smallest particles, they may not exist in free state. Free state means they won't be individual. Okay, they may exist in combined state in the form of a molecules of compound, molecules or compounds. Okay, this was the idea given by our Indian philosopher. Okay, Pakuda, it is Katyayama. Okay, so this person gave this idea. So based on all these ideas, when the modern era of science came, जब हम modernize हो गए science में, इन्हीं ideas को लेके हम और आगे बढ़े. We started doing experiments. ये जो बातें कही इन्होंने, ये theoretical है. Proof, verification या justification नहीं था. ये theoretical इन्होंने assumption से बताया था. But इसका proof नहीं था किसी के पास. So when the modern era came, when we started experimenting things, so the modern scientists went behind it, these ideas, they experimented, went on doing experimented, and they came across some conclusion. They made some laws, कुछ laws बनाए गए, कुछ ये बनाए गए कि yes, what is a matter made up of. Okay, so these are the three great contributors to this ideas. Overall इन्होंने idea तो दे दिया कि हाँ ऐसा होता है. अब इसको verify करना था, justify करना था. यहाँ पे हमको experiment से confirmation था, चाहिए था कि yes, this is true. Okay, so now moving further, whatever they said, conclusion क्या था इनका, कहना था कि today from their ideas, today what do we know? आज हमें क्या पता है कि today we all know that matter is made up of small particles which are called as atoms or molecules. Different kind of atoms or molecules have different properties due to which different matter have different properties. So overall क्या conclusion निकला? Today we have many types of atoms. पढ़ते हैं हम आजकल, हमारे पास इतने सारे types of atoms हैं. इनके आइडिया से हमारा यही conclusion निकला that we have different types of atoms, different types of molecules. Molecules when atoms combine. So we have different types of atoms, we have different types of molecules. Different types of atom has different properties. So different substances are made up of different types of atoms. Suppose I talk about silver, उसका एक अलग type का atom है. Gold, it is of different type of atom. Iron, different type of atom. Oxygen, different type of atom. So these atoms are different, so their properties are also different. So this matter, let's talk about iron, let's talk about gold, let's talk about oxygen or carbon. These all are different matters, they all are having different properties. Why? Because they are made up of different types of atoms, and different types of atoms have, they differ in properties. Okay, so that was overall conclusion we came to know today. But all this, how was all this achieved? ये सब पता कैसे पड़ा हमको? Again, people went after it, research हुए, experiments हुए, conclusion निकले. Okay, long story, long. Okay, एक दिन में नहीं हुआ. It took time and it was all discussed. You can see कहाँ से start हुआ? 500 BC idea. महर्षि कन्नड़ 500 BC तब idea दिए थे. Today we are in the 21st century and we are still doing researches. Okay, so up to 18th century, now you can see over here, up to 18th century there were no experimental verification of these theories. जो भी ideas दिए लोगों ने, up to 18th century कोई हमारे पास इसका verification नहीं था. But by the end of 18th century you can say people started doing experimentation and started coming to some conclusion. Okay, so however by the end of 18th century it was certified that प्योर सब्सटेंसेस कैन बी आइदर एन एलिमेंट और अ कंपाउंड। ये तो कंफर्म कर लिया हमने 18th सेंचुरी में कि जो प्योर सब्सटेंस जो भी होते हैं, इफ अ सब्सटेंस इज प्योर it can be element or it can be compound, that you studied in second chapter. Okay, element anything which is made up of only one kind of atoms, compound which is made up of more than one kind of atoms but they are in a fixed amount, fixed ratio. Okay, so in a compound we can have 2 or 3 types of atoms which are in a fixed ratio. Okay, but in an element we have only single type of atom. So it was here that any pure substance can be either an element or a compound. Element compound आ गया यहाँ पे. But now how and why the elements combine? How they combine? Elements combine to form another compound. Okay, 2 or more elements combine. Reaction होता है ना, chemical reaction हम पढ़ते हैं, एक element दूसरे element से combine हो रहा है. क्यों हो रहा है भाई? Why are they reacting? Why do elements react? Okay, why some of the elements don't react? Okay, why do elements combine in a particular order, particular system? भाई ये एक atom I will combine with 2, I won't combine with 1. Condition apply. क्यों? What is the reason behind that? How do they react? So that the queries were there and the people started again research to come to some conclusion. Okay, so experimental studies were done, many experiments were done, they went on and ultimately some conclusion was obtained. All the first, at the very first, our great scientist Antoine Lavoisier. So Lavoisier, generally हम shortcut में बोल देते हैं उनका नाम. Lavoisier was the person who put forward law. Okay, तो जब chemicals combine होते हैं तो उस पर एक बनाया गया law of chemical combination and he was the first person to put forward the law which is called as law of chemical combination. Certain laws were made. The first was law of combination. कॉम्बिनेशन मीन्स जब भी दो केमिकल आपस में मिक्स होते हैं, रिएक्ट करते हैं या कोई भी आपस में इंटरेक्शन होता है, हाउ डू दे कंबाइन. ओके, तो दे गेव अ लॉ ऑफ केमिकल कॉम्बिनेशन.